Hello, my name is Reena Banerjee. I am the Community Engagement Coordinator here at the Arizona Commission for the Deaf and the Hard of Hearing. Welcome to our Community View. Community View is a platform through ACDHH to spotlight people and places in our community that deserve recognition. Joining me today is Caryn Tenin. We're going to learn more about Caryn and her experiences. So, Caryn, would you like to introduce yourself? Yes, hello. And thank you. Hello to everyone there watching at home. I am deafblind. I grew up in Chicago and graduated from Gallaudet University with a bachelor's degree in accounting. After I graduated, I moved back to Illinois and worked there for 11 years. Then I moved to California for a short time and ended up in Seattle, Washington, where I lived for almost 23 years. Once I retired, I moved here to Arizona just last year. And that's been a new opportunity for me to become involved and learn about the Arizona culture, the community that's here, and things of that nature. It's been a great experience for me to make connections within the deafblind community here. And this is Reena. Well, welcome to Arizona. We're going to begin with a few questions, okay? Our first question is, how has your lived experience impacted the way that you advocate for the deafblind community? This is Caryn. What I've learned over the years and seen multiple times is that most people really don't understand the term deafblind. There is a resistance to interacting with us, maybe some awkwardness. And if you ask someone, what does deafblind mean? It's difficult to get a clear answer. And the fact that there are several ways to write deafblind can cause some confusion, like deafblind, deaf and blind, deaf-blind, deaf/blind. It does cause some confusion, especially to those people who have never met a deafblind person before. So if you'll allow me to explain, I can tell you what the difference is between those terms. The community prefers the term deafblind, one word. Of course, that means a person who has vision loss and hearing loss, but that term deafblind is really a signifier of our identity. And it's also easier for people to say instead of deaf and blind. That term with those three separate words looks as though we have two separate identities. There's the deaf identity and the blind identity. That "and" in there really gives the impression that we've got these two competing identities to grapple with. Now, when people wrote deaf-blind, that actually caused quite a bit of problems with the accessibility technology that we use, like Braille readers and screen readers. The hyphen caused quite a bit of confusion, so that didn't work for our community either. And then the deaf/blind gives the impression that we're divided in some way. It really doesn't represent us the appropriate way. So deaf-blind, one word, is a clear way to represent our community. Now, we know that many people look disparagingly upon deafblind people. They don't know how to communicate with them. And often deafblind people are neglected, left in isolation. Especially if there aren't a lot of opportunities to be involved in the community or appropriate services available, being deafblind can be very lonely. Some deafblind people have family or friends that will take them out to do the bare necessities like food shopping and things like that. But what I see here in Arizona with the lack of services is a lot of isolation from the deafblind community. Now, when I lived in Seattle for 25 years, the deafblind community was incredibly involved. We had wonderful support services. There was a great community, lots of opportunities for the deafblind individuals there to be involved. We had great support service providers, which are also called co-navigators. Now the term SSP, support service providers, is on its way out. SSP really isn't used anymore. And just this past July 1st, it was decided that co-navigator would be the appropriate term. We also had incredible advocacy and case management. We also had great orientation and mobility training. That's the training that teaches deafblind people how to take the bus and take the train, how to be independent and take care of themselves. So having great training like that gave deafblind people the opportunity to take leadership roles in organizations. We had presidents and vice presidents of different organizations. Deafblind people had multiple different jobs. We had deafblind individuals in executive director positions, management positions, director positions in Washington State. Now, from my experience, my view so far here in Arizona is that Arizona could do much better in a lot of these categories. Deafblind individuals have very limited access. We have limits to SSPs. The system really needs an overhaul and has lots of room for improvement. There needs to be more opportunities, more trainings. We need more applicants for SSPs. And of course, we do not get enough hours with SSPs here in Arizona, only 20 hours, which means many deafblind Arizonans are stuck at home. They're not able to go out into the community, go to social events, and they're very limited in the kind of communication access that's available to them. This is Reena. Can you share a little bit more about AZDBC? Are there any projects that you're currently working on or trainings that you're planning to offer? This is Caryn. AZDBC is currently recruiting for volunteers to help with getting the deafblind community to more events, like the Deaf Expo and Deaf Marketplace. We'd really like to see more deafblind representation at those kinds of events. So we need more volunteers. We are also looking at providing trainings, hopefully within the near future. We want to provide education and awareness to the deafblind community, specifically about issues like the name change between SSP and co-navigator. Of course, we're hoping to change that name from SSP to co-navigator, but there's also a role difference as well. It's a new concept for lots of deafblind people. Co-navigators have a similar role to SSPs with the addition of improved communication access and co-presence, which is unique to co-navigators. Now, the term SSP was established well over 30 years ago, but it wasn't recognized by the Commission, it wasn't recognized by the ADA, and that term seems to cause some confusion with lawmakers. Many people misconstrue it as a personal care assistant or a caregiver. But of course, many deafblind people don't need that kind of services. They just need environmental information and communication access. So we're looking to change the term here in Arizona to co-navigator, but right now the community isn't quite ready. We need to do a little bit more research, a little bit more education about the role of a co-navigator. So we're hoping to see that happen sometime within the next year. We'd also like to see additional services and other trainings like Braille, teaching Braille to our community, as well as teaching protactile, which is a language that can be used either one-on-one or in group settings. It can also be used by SSPs. So we're looking for people to be involved in these different initiatives that can build a better quality of life for the deafblind community so that we can have better health. This is Reena. Thank you for sharing about your organization. That is really impactful. Would you mind telling the viewers how community members can get involved with your organization or offer their support? This is Caryn. There are really two different deafblind organizations that are working in tandem. The Arizona Deafblind Community, ADBC. They've been around for quite some time, and they hold monthly events on the second Saturday of every month, usually socials, different events, field trips. Sometimes we go out to lunch. Sometimes it's just a get-together if we have enough volunteers. Now, those events are only happening in Phoenix and Tucson. In both cities, it's the second Saturday of every month. But we need more volunteers as well. So it's important that we not only get those volunteers, but also bring interpreting students into the mix. We're looking to train students at Phoenix College and the University of Arizona so that not only are they more involved in the deafblind community, but they can start learning skills like protactile and tactile ASL. And hopefully, when they become certified licensed interpreters, then they'll have those skills to work with our community. There is a great need there. We also need the ability to collaborate with other deaf organizations like the Arizona Association for the Deaf, the Phoenix Association for the Deaf, and Tucson organizations like Community Outreach Program for the Deaf to help us get this message out to all corners of Arizona, northern Arizona and the Flagstaff area, eastern Arizona, western Arizona. We really want to spread the message of unity throughout the deaf and deafblind communities. We are not two separate communities. That is our goal. This is Reena. Caryn, do you have any advice that you'd like to offer to parents of deafblind children? Any messages that you'd like to share with them? This is Caryn. Yes, I encourage parents of deafblind children to focus on communication. Work together to learn sign language, whether that's tactile or protactile. And make sure that you use language with them daily, because that is what is going to build a relationship between you and your deafblind child. Show them that you love and support them. And encourage your children to be involved in after-school activities. We want to develop those leadership skills in our deafblind children. Maybe have them participate in student government. That will really give them the opportunity to build the skills that we want to see later. Don't wait. Once those children become adults, that means we're going to get better services and have a stronger community because they've already built that confidence. And finally, I can't help but look to the wonderful deafblind community in Seattle. You know, there it was like an old tree with a strong root system, a strong foundation. And of course, that didn't happen overnight. That took 40 years or more to develop. We're still in the beginning stages to build that community here in Arizona, but that's our goal. We want a stronger community for your children. right now it almost seems like a cactus garden. We are just laying down the soil, we're planting the seeds, we're watering the seeds, and we're just starting to see the little sprouts come up out of the ground. And that's what AZDBC is trying to do. We're planting those seeds so that in 50 or 100 years, those little sprouts will grow into a big, strong, beautiful saguaro cactus with a good, strong foundation. That's what we want to see for the deafblind community here in Arizona. This is Reena. Caryn, thank you so much for sharing information with us about AZDBC and the goals that you have for the deafblind community. We look forward to many more successful trees and cactuses here in Arizona. So thank you for your time and thank you for joining us on Community View. Have a wonderful day.